During the Ming Dynasty in China, there was a small temple in Shangzhou, Henan province with only 4 or 5 monks. Yet its incense offerings were exceptionally prosperous. Interestingly, most of the young women who came to burn incense were in the prime of their youth. Although this temple doesn't seem to be effective, the girls are infatuated and flock to the temple, just for a young monk named Du Kong. He is only 24 years old, with handsome features and a charming smile. Although he is not a high-ranking monk, and doesn't understand Buddhism at all, he has become the star of the temple. Du Kong's parents had died when he was young, leaving him in poverty and begging for a living. Several years ago, he collapsed in front of the temple that was about to close, and was saved by an old monk inside. Du Kong begged the old monk to take him in for a living, and since the old monk had no disciples, he decided to take him in. From then on, Du Kong became a monk and began to live in this temple. After becoming a monk, Du Kong and his master would often travel down the mountain to beg for alms. However, Du Kong's good looks quickly gained him a large following, particularly among young girls. The old monk recognized the commercial potential of Du Kong and started to market and advertise him as an eminent monk, positioning him as the public face of the temple. As a result, the number of visitors burning incense increased, and the temple's revenue rose, bringing great joy to the master and disciple. One day, the old monk dressed Du Kong up and brought him to a brothel for some entertainment. It was then that Du Kong realized that his master was not a real monk, but a gambler who had incurred a significant debt. To avoid his creditors, he had sought refuge in the temple, under an assumed identity as a monk. Under the leadership of the 2 fake monks, the old monk and Du Kong, the temple's popularity grew, and the incense money increased. They spent the money lavishly, behaving in a manner that was far from monk-like. But their good times were cut short when the old monk fell ill and passed away, leaving the temple's control in Du Kong's hands. After the old monk's death, Du Kong's behavior became increasingly outrageous. He not only continued to frequent brothels, but also began targeting female visitors who came to the temple to burn incense. To lure these girls, he had special incense sticks, made that burned faster than normal ones. During the day, he would wait in the main hall and personally offer 3 sticks of the special incense to any pretty girl who caught his eye. However, the girls were unaware that one of the sticks burned faster, causing 2 sticks to appear longer than the other after a while. In China, there is a saying called 3 long and 2 short. It means being too flustered to speak with correct grammar when briefing the victim's family. It actually means encountering unexpected disasters. When the incense in the woman's hand has burned for a while, Du Kong would adopt a grave expression as he walked up to the female visitors and solemnly warned them, "Madam, one must be fear of 3 long and 2 short, and incense burning has a taboo of 2 shorts and 1 long. This is a life-threatening incense, and it may bring about calamity soon." Hearing the term life-threatening incense, the girls were frequently frightened out of their wits. Next, Du Kong would escort the frightened girls to the meditation room located in the temple's backyard. There, he would instruct them to disrobe and use his Buddha light to purify their bodies and minds, eliminating any traces of evil spirits. These young women were fully entranced with feelings of gratitude for their supposed salvation. Rather than feeling ashamed, they were elated and were sure to keep this sacred experience to themselves. Little did they know, Du Kong was using this scheme to taint the purity of numerous girls. Once these girls got married, if their in-laws found out that they were not virgins, they would be tragically abandoned. In some cases, when the girls became pregnant with Du Kong's child and wanted him to take responsibility, he instead brutally murdered them and threw their bodies, into a dry well in the temple's backyard. One summer evening, as the temple was preparing to close for the night, a stunning woman in her 20s arrived. Du Kong had been lamenting the dwindling number of female visitors to the temple, but as soon as he laid eyes on her, he found himself gazing intently and almost drooling with desire. Du Kong hastily adjusted his posture and handed her 3 incense sticks. The woman accepted them, gave him a smile, and knelt down in front of the Buddha statue to offer her respects. Du Kong intentionally drew out the time, holding on to her, and offering to listen to her problems and help resolve them. However, the woman in front of him doesn't seem interested in his charm. She spoke in incomplete sentences, revealing nothing about herself. Nevertheless, it was of no consequence, as Du Kong observed that the 3 incense sticks she was holding had burned into 2 short and 1 long. Du Kong feigned surprise and gestured at the incense in the censer, exclaiming, "Miss, you've lit the life-threatening incense." The beautiful woman turned around and looked at Du Kong, her eyebrows slightly furrowed, appearing very worried. Du Kong took the opportunity to speak. "Don't worry, miss. I have a way to help you through this ordeal. Come with me." Du Kong seized the opportunity and led the woman to the meditation room in the backyard. As soon as they entered, he quietly locked the doors and windows, determined to make his move. The woman looked around and asked Du Kong what method he had in mind. Du Kong smiled and said, "Miss, please undress. This method is a bit complicated and requires me to use my own Buddha light to expel the evil spirits." The woman laughed at his words, but obediently took off her clothes. Du Kong couldn't resist the sight and immediately pounced on her. It was then that the woman leaned in and whispered in Du Kong's ear, "Venerable, the 3 incense sticks were lit by me, and that was your life-threatening incense. I wonder if your Buddha light can save yourself." Upon hearing the woman's words, Du Kong sensed that something was amiss and tried to get up and escape. However, the woman held on to him tightly, and her wide grin only served to heighten his suspicion. Suddenly, the woman opened her mouth wide, revealing a menacing set of teeth, as if she was about to bite his head off. To Du Kong's horror, she produced a massive sickle, seemingly out of thin air, and drove it straight into his shoulder blade with a sinister laugh. With a forceful yank, she tore out Du Kong's soul, and he watched helplessly as his lifeless body fell to the ground. Despite his attempts to assist his body, he discovered that the sickle was still lodged in his form. As the woman reverted to her true form, Du Kong realized that she was the Soul Reaper from hell. Early the next morning, people found Du Kong's body in the meditation room. The officials found the bones of many girls in a nearby dry well. In addition, they also found Du Kong's special incense offerings. In the end, the truth was revealed, shocking the people in the vicinity. With Du Kong's death, the temple was also abandoned. Several years later, a mountain flood swept through, completely destroying everything.